One.
Welcome back for another episode of Real Talk at the Round Table with Coach William Forkham, Coach David Smith, and Coach Don Farrey. We are here to bring you another powerful episode all about money and marriage.
That's
Hi,
right.
guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on, and we're going to have an exciting one because you know what brings my memory is there was a movie out or it's show, and it said money and marriage, money and marriage. Oh wait, might not have said that, but still, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a great show. I loved Al Bundy.
Yeah, he was
Before my
hilarious.
time.
He has two of them. One he's poor, the other one he's rich. And you know that's exactly what we do here. We help the poor people become rich. Right?
That's the goal.
And when you have a
Yes.
coach, on the average, a coach will help you anywhere between 6 months and a year and a half, get you completely debt free, and 5 to 10 years get you to be a millionaire. So that's the power of having a coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this large doses of intentionality. David, I think that you're spot on, and so many of us, we want to ebb and flow with debt. We want to get into a lot of debt, pay it off, get back into a lot of debt, pay it off. And that's a recipe for success if you're a bank, but probably not for you. And we want to talk about the intentionality within marriage between husband and wife, all about how we can sit down, have those productive conversations in real time with budget meetings, with what else, Dawn?
Well, just openness about where you're at financially, talking about how you're spending your money, where you need to maybe cut back so that you can save for another expense that you know is coming up, having an emergency fund in case your car breaks down or you have doctor's costs come up or your kids need, money for camp during the summer, which has gotten to be really expensive over the years. And, gives the parents a great break. But if you don't budget for it, then you're going to probably have to put it on a credit card and then, struggle to pay that off because other stuff comes up during the summer, and whether it's tennis lessons or soccer leagues. It's all about planning ahead and looking farther out in the future than just next month, because if you just look out next month, you're not going to make it too well without getting into debt because you haven't budgeted the funds and put them away in an emergency fund or a specialized fund like a new car fund or vacation trip fund to have the money there when you go to spend it.
Now, that sounds really detailed, and honestly, I'm a free spirit. I'm not sure if I want to be doing all of those different types of budgeting line items and sitting down and looking at this, putting it together, being proactive. How can I, a free spirit, add to those budgeting meetings?
Well, I think it gets back to you do like an Excel spreadsheet, for example, and you just put in all of your fixed costs and add those up. And a guideline is 40 to 45%, fixed expenses out of your monthly income is a good place to be. Now with rent and mortgage payments as high as they are now, a lot of people are leaning towards 50% of their fixed expenses. Then you have variable expenses, going out to eat. And groceries are actually part of the fixed expenses. So you ballpark how much you're going to have for groceries. But your variable expenses are like fun things.
You are putting me to sleep. I am like ready to just go crawl in the corner and take a nap. David, how can a free spirit like myself add to the budget meetings?
Because the nerd's going to slap you around. No.
Well, your spouse will have to put you in line, Will, and say, Will, settle, just pull back and pay attention. This is serious stuff. Our money's at risk here. So I think it's important that the spouses communicate. And where I learned this was, I had my second bout with cancer last year, and it was tongue cancer. So more serious than the first one I had. And so I went through the surgery. I went through 6 weeks of radiation, 5 days a week. And I mean, talk about a setback. I was wiped out, and just made me realize that my wife didn't really know a whole lot about our finances. I told her that I had my password list on a thumb drive, but my wife is not technical at all. So I would have had to rely on my oldest son, who is technical, but it would have been a mess for her had I not survived the tongue cancer, and to pull everything together and deal with the money and taking care of our special needs twins. So it just got me thinking about just things that I needed to do in my own personal life that I could help other people with. And so I retired from a real estate career last year and decided I wanted to become a Dave Ramsey personal financial coach. So I passed the testing last year, and then finally this spring I felt good enough to launch my personal financial coaching business. And it's always been a lifelong passion. I've read financial magazines and that since probably the early 80s, so it's always been a lifelong passion. I've gained a lot of knowledge because I'm also a CPA, which is all about numbers. So yeah, I'm sort of anal about numbers because I'm a CPA, but I'm trying to relay that in a way that people understand, when I meet with them.
Well, you sound like you're competent. You know what you're doing as far as the numbers side go, but you're a coach.
Right.
So I'm going to ask this question a third time.
Okay.
What can a free spirit like me contribute to the budget meetings?
Well, certainly your input's valuable. I mean, it's going to give direction to, discussion so that you and your spouse can have discussions about where you're at, where you're going, how you're going to get there. How can the coach help us the most? You might want to talk about, well, I have these hobbies that I love and I want to do them. So then it's a case of, okay, Will, you love to do X, Y, Z, let's find money to do that so that you can continue to do what you love. So it's not about, not, saving every penny. It's about, building a richer life by looking at how you're going to spend your money in a prudent way,
Well,
and as a free spirit, you have to, sometimes pull back to the reality of life and say, man, if I want to, retire in comfort in 30 years or how many years you're going to work, then I better start, bucking down and making a plan for that.
It reminds me of, there's this one person that I know, and she is phenomenal. She is a free spirit all the way. And she's a free spirit all the way. And matter of fact, she has an emergency fund for her emergency fund. Now, she brings it very well and very wise. She says that, a budget actually allows you to spend. So her first time she went on vacation with her husband, she's like doing her everyday thing, doing whatever she wants to do, and stuff like that. And she's at the pool side. She orders a drink and another drink, and then she decides to get an appetizer. So she asks for a menu. And when she looks at the menu, she's like, what just happened? Those 2 drinks is like what we normally pay for a full meal. So she went back to her husband. She's like, you know what? I screwed up. I blew most of our budget. And he's like, no, honey, it's okay. I know you, and I planned it in the budget. So go ahead, spend what you want. You're covered here. But when she started realizing, she started pulling things in perspective. The really cool thing that I love about the budget meetings, and when I do these budget meetings, they're hilarious because the nerds hate me. And at first, I hated it too, because the nerd can't say nothing at all. The detailed-oriented person, the person that's organized, they can't say nothing. And the free spirit is the one that has to make a change. They could speak whatever they want because everything you got to say is already on the paper. Now just shut up and listen. So I like it because it gives them power. They think they actually have some authority, because they're in control. And yes, I said that correctly. They think they're in control.
Well, it sounds like that couple were talking to each other about their budget and money they spend and planning and that kind of thing, which is great. So many couples, sometimes one doesn't even know what the other's spending. And that's, always leads to problems, or they have a stash of money that they keep aside and the husband's unaware of it, or the wife is unaware of it. And of course, when it comes out, then that leads to arguments about, well, what are you doing here? We need to talk about our money. And so hopefully, as a coach, you can help them work through that. And again, talk to each other routinely. And like you said, David, have a budget or spending plan, whatever you want to call it, that helps them, make their dollars go to work in different areas, some of which is fun, some of which is must do, and some is, planning for the future.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do have to make a comment here real quick. Normally, we don't bring in the audience until, after 30 minutes. However, there was a really good comment, and I'm just going to bring it to life. Mary Bibb, Abraham Lincoln, she's making a statement from him. Discipline is sacrificing what you want now versus what you will have what you want in the future. So if you want something nice in the future, you'll sacrifice a little bit today.
Great quote. Yeah, I think that's very relevant today, especially when it's so easy to spend money. You're tempted every day. You're inundated with ads. It takes a lot of discipline to not spend money. And it's not the small things that kills you. It's the big things like buying an expensive vehicle that you really can't afford if you looked at the total cost of ownership, the insurance and tag fees, all those other things that go with it, the maintenance, oil changes and things like that. Or it's, you go on vacation, haven't planned for it, and all of a sudden you spent a ton of money. I mean, my wife and I just went up to Lexington, Kentucky last weekend to visit my son, and it was over $1,500 for like 4 days up there. Which blew me away. I mean, just that it was that expensive. And that's just driving up there, not taking a plane or anything, but driving up and visiting, taking them out to dinner and going to a ball game and seeing, the Keeneland racetrack, which is pretty awesome. And so, those kinds of things are what sneak up on people and really do damage to their finances.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still stuck on the whole free spirit thinking that he may be in control. And I think that there is a good point in what you said, Don, about, hey, a lot of us free spirits need to wake up and smell the roses. And it's like, if we're not actively doing a budget and we're not actively assigning every dollar of income a job to do, we don't know what the money's doing or where it's going, then we don't have an appreciation for when our nerd, hopefully we're married to a nerd,
well,
it's like
you're married to a nerd, but I'm married to a free spirit.
Right.
I do not want to be married to a nerd.
They say opposites attract. So if you're a nerd, you need a free spirit. Two nerds together, that sounds cringeworthy. But two free spirits together sounds homeless. So you have to figure out
probably would
balance. And maybe that balance is putting the budget together in real time, like, and doing it together. I think that the sad majority, one spouse gets the budget and while the other one is just checked out and they're just like, yeah, that's yours. And that's a sad thing, I think. But I don't think it has to be that way. I think that the couples that work the best together are doing it together.
Yeah, I agree. I think, as you both have probably experienced in your coaching, you get on a Zoom meeting with, a married couple or partners or whatever it is, and you can tell who sort of, leads the wagon and who's in the passenger seat. And, so one's always going to be more outspoken and talk more. So it's challenging to get the other person engaged to really speak about what their thoughts are on the money situation and, the debt situation and get them to open up and be more of a participant. And so that's, I think, one of the goals we have as coaches is to get that dialogue going between couples, so that the communication more open, and they talk openly about what's going on with their money, and talk about maybe an expense that might be coming up. Well, we need to set some money aside for that, because otherwise we have to put it on a credit card and go back into debt, which we're trying to get out of. So it's important that communication, is monthly budget meetings is what I like to call them. Is the couple gets together and say, okay, what did we do well last month? What did we do well, so far this month? And what do we look at? You're coming not up next month, but 3 months out, 6 months out, a year out. And then you start planning for those bigger ticket items that you want to spend money on in the future.
Yeah. It reminds me of this husband and wife. The wife was the budget doer. And while the husband trusted her with it, and they were coming to the sessions, she was stressed out, and I had a one-on-one with him. She didn't know about it. And I said, man, try this and see what happens. He's like, okay, I'm all ears. I'm ready to try, because it wasn't looking good for him. And I said, try to initiate sitting down, looking at the budget together. Don't wait for her to initiate. You initiate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he tried that. And the first couple times, she blew him off. She was like, no, this is not a good time. I can't believe you're asking me during this time. I've got this, and this to do, and we had a conversation, and he said, I'm trying, and I don't know. It's like it's making it worse. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, but don't give up. Like, she needs to know that you care. So keep on. So about the third time that he initiated that conversation, they sat down, and it was a good time, and he made sure that it was a good time. Wasn't that good of a time for him?
Right.
But that sacrifice, and her seeing that he was willing to make that sacrifice, is what really added the cherry on top and allowed her to breathe out, right? And to say, my man cares. My man is willing to lead. My man is willing to be responsible. I'm able to rest safely in my man, and I think that that's what it comes down to is does the wife feel secure and safe? And does the husband feel respected?
Yeah, I think, if you get that response of, well, honey, now's not a good time, to say, okay, well, let's look at the calendar and let's pick out a time that works for both of us. And then try to encourage that to get a meeting set, and then hold them to it, whether it's someplace over coffee or soda, or, at the dining room table after the kids are gone to bed, if they have children, just something where, they get that commitment to sit down with each other, even though it might be hard during the day because of all the obligations that a couple has.
Well, one thing I have found to really work is with with the one that doesn't want to do it. Well, honey, you know what? I got something for you. Why don't we do this budgeting thing? Just see how it works. I don't think it's really going to work, but just let's check it out. And why don't we go to a restaurant, and I'll buy you dinner while we talk about this.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Just some place where you can
give them a
relax.
reward system, and allowing them to, oh wait, I'm going to get a dinner out of this? Okay, well, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure because he doesn't think it's going to work, so we'll give it a shot. Well, it's going to work. It always does,
Mm-hmm.
But you go with the thing of, I don't think it's going to work. Let's just try it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great way to get that conversation going, David, and getting some rapport going with regard to something that's touchy between the two of them. If you can put it in a relaxed environment, like you say, have a reward, a nice dinner, a night out, and get out of the house and away from the pressures that are in the house, to some place that you enjoy going, and just chat, about the situation, and then say, okay, well, when we get home, let's figure out who's going to pull the numbers together, or we can do it together, and go through our bank statements, to look at where we spent money and put it down somewhere on a piece of paper or Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets or whatever they use. And then really, it'll be an eye opener for most people if they get to that point and do that. I mean, for example, I started using the Every Dollar Budget app. I budgeted $750 for groceries, and first month it was like $1,000. I'm like, holy smokes! I always thought we were spending about $700 to $800, and so you then end up saying, okay, I need to make some adjustments in this because this isn't sustainable if we want to do some other things. And that's one of the beauties of the budget is finding those holes that you need to plug and make adjustments, whether it's you eat out 2 times less in a month and save $100 or $200, as expensive as it's getting. And then you've got those funds for other purposes.
Yeah, I know when I first did my first budget, and I've said this many times, but I was eating out more than $4,000 per month. Eating out.
Wow.
That wasn't groceries. That was just eating out. After doing my first budget, I was like, what? That's going to change. And I only allowed myself to go out to eat 5 times a month. So it's once a week, and on the months it only has 4 times, 1 week I can go twice.
Yeah, my wife and I do that too. We, she works out, 3 classes at the Y on Saturday mornings. I do usually an hour and a half, and I, come back to the house and do some things. But then when I pick her up at 11:15, there's a place down the street on Rees, which is like a French bakery sandwich place. And so we've gotten to where we go there and eat lunch and sort of quiet time away from our twins. And then, we take our twins out to eat for special time every other Sunday. So, we've cut back a lot on going out to eat as well, just because the costs of it have gotten so high. Food costs have gone up, and labor costs, all those other things. So that just gets passed down. And it's amazing how much money you can go through, as David, you found out when you finally sat down and did your budget. It's a shock for a lot of people if they stopped and figured it out. And it is tough when you're both working, especially, to come home and cook and that kind of thing. But there's solutions for that. You make something that you can spread out over a couple of days as leftovers. Just have a TV dinner out now and then. There's some good TV dinner things out there that are relatively inexpensive. So you can, get to the point where you can start economizing and eating out far less and eating more at home. And usually if you're eating at home with your kids, that's even better because they get to spend special time with you, which they're not used to. Family.
You mentioned healthy snacks that you could buy and eat at home, or maybe it's on the go. Something that I just had yesterday. It was so good, guys. Tuna Creations, hickory smoke, the tuna in the packets, just eating it with a fork out of the bag. This stuff is delicious. And it was like, 30 grams of protein or something?
Wow. That's great. Yeah, it's hard to find a good healthy snack, that tastes good. There's a lot of processed stuff that's out there with a lot of protein in that, but doesn't necessarily taste great. I really found that out with having tongue cancer. My saliva glands haven't come back yet. So for me, it's really hard to find things that I can eat and tolerate. I can't eat anything spicy, unfortunately, and I love Mexican food. So there's just those kind of things I've had to adjust to now. I've been a year removed from radiation, so the doctor's telling me, well, give it more time. And I've talked to some people that have had the same similar situation I was in, and one fellow told me, well, Don, at 2 years, you'll be able to eat steak again. I said, man, I'm looking forward to that. It's been a long time. So the health wakes you up to just things you need to address, in your personal life and not to mention your health. I've always, been healthy, but you get a big setback like that, it's a shock to your system and to your spouse and children and your network of good friends who are there supporting you, which has been helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Will, you can have my tuna creations.
I'm not a fan of tuna either, David.
I'm not a fan of anything that comes from the sea.
What? Oh my goodness. What about you, Don?
I like popcorn shrimp. I'll eat scallops. Certain fish I'll eat. I'm not really fond of fish. I mean, my oldest son and wife are actually the people that'll eat most anything. I grew up a meat and taters man in Wisconsin, so up there it's meat and potatoes and maybe carrots or something. But
Well,
I
and
started
tons of
eating more.
cheese.
What's that, David?
And tons of cheese.
Oh yeah, I still love cheese, and that's helped get me through the last year. Honestly, I mean, if I didn't have croissants and ham and cheese and jam on it, I don't know how I'd survive to this day. I'm getting sick of them, but I'm holding out hope for a more varied menu soon. So,
Well,
but,
see, the nice
that's
thing about the
what-
Wisconsins, they're cheeseheads. They definitely love their cheese. And you got all kinds of cheese. You got provolone, cheddar, Swiss, Munster. I mean, you got tons of them. So
Oh
just
yeah,
switch
there's
them
every
up.
cheese imaginable up there. I mean, there's cheese shops on basically every exit of the freeway. It seems like, and it's great fresh cheese and tastes different than what you buy in the store here, just because of the closer proximity to the dairies and things like that. I think, but yeah, the cheese up there is definitely better. My mom and dad used to always send us a cheese and sausage box every Christmas because they knew we liked it. And one of my sisters used to do that. And every time we go up to visit, I'll bring some cheese back, for my wife. She's crazy about cheese, even more than me. So, and she's from Memphis, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but I've been blessed there.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm steak of the sea, cod, tilapia, salmon. Hey, if it's a fillet, I don't care if it's fish. It could be beef. It could be chicken. I don't know if there's fillet of beef, but you get me. You understand. As long as it's meat, I'm going to eat it and I'm going to like it. Yeah. I was recently talking with a health coach, and I was talking to him about, my day to day and things. And he's like, "How many grams of protein are you eating?" And I said, "I don't know." And, I'm not tracking it. And he's like, "Well, you should be." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." So you just told me you were working out, you're working a lot, playing with your kids, running. Like, you need to be tracking that. I'm like, "Well, how much protein am I supposed to be eating?" And he's like, "Well, how much do you weigh?" And I said, 192. He's like, Come right underneath that with the amount of grams of protein per day that you eat, but don't exceed it, or you could do serious kidney damage." I'm like, interesting. So I started to track it, and let me tell you, that's a lot of protein. Like, you don't realize how much protein that is until you're starting to ingest it.
You want to do
but I will say,
192 grams of protein?
Well, you
Based on
want to
your
get
no,
under
I'm-
your body weight. Whatever your body weight is, you never exceed your body weight.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing about 160.
Mm-hmm.
So tuna is really handy for that. Just a can of tuna, just eat it, and that's 30 grams of protein. And then maybe I do a lot of the shakes, a lot of the Ensure shakes. Yeah, there's 30 grams of protein right there, and it's a delicious chocolate shake.
I've drank
big
a lot
on
of those kinds of
chicken.
things.
Beef, like I said, fish,
Yeah.
anything that's meaty, Now, I was actually just talking to a coach, fellow RPC. I'm not going to say her name. She probably wouldn't care, but I'm just not going to. She told me about tofu, and because her and her husband have been on tofu for the last 6 months, he's dropped like 40 pounds without even trying. The reason they made
it tastes crappy.
No, they actually love it. You can make it taste however you want to by flavoring it. They follow the recipes they're finding online. She's got bacon tofu. She's got chicken tofu, beef tofu, steak tofu. Like, they make it in different firmnesses and all that. She's going into all the details. And the reason they made the switch is because he had his gallbladder removed.
Oh,
And they told him that
had tofu?
he had to stop. I think I have, but it's been years, and I can't remember what it tastes like.
Ugh.
I
So
don't
I had
think
a
I've
lady
sampled.
that she was
I don't think I've sampled it either. It doesn't look
she was a
appealing. to me.
vegan, and she did a lot of tofu, and she would try to trick. There was me and somebody else that was meat lovers, and she always tried to trick us to see if she can get us to eat tofu, and no. I don't think so.
Well, it's protein. It's plant-based, but it's still protein. So I'm interested, and I'm gonna be trying some more. There's like a tofu press that you can get off Amazon. I'm looking into those, and looking into prices. Yeah, because that's a big deal. I mean, if you're putting in that many grams of protein, price comes into effect.
Yeah. Well, guys, one of the other things that I learned in the last year is that's important for anyone, is to have a medical directive and somebody that you can name to oversee that in case your surgery doesn't go as planned and all of a sudden you've got more complicated issues. Then also just a power of attorney so that if something can happen, then they have access to dealing with your financial part of your life, and having a will. Many people, I spoke to a couple several weeks ago. They were 53 years old, 4 kids, one with special needs, and they didn't have a will. And so I suggested one of the first things they should save up for was getting some kind of will in place so that the state didn't direct what happens to their 13 and 15-year-old kids and their special needs son who works at a grocery store, and to get that part of their life resolved. And I said, you'll feel a million times better. I know when my wife and I did our will, and and part of it's a special needs trust for our twins because one's terrible with money, one's pretty good. But if you have a child that's got issues with spending money, then having some kind of trust set up for them is pretty important. So that's a couple of the other things I learned in my experience in the last year. And I recommend also, I put together a sort of a PDF of what I learned from 2 bouts of cancer about marriage and money. And it's available to people if they want to hit my website and just email me. I'd be glad to send it to them. But it's got all kinds of tips. The interesting thing about the feedback that I've gotten on that was people didn't know that it's important to keep your spouse or your deceased spouse or loved one's telephone on for a year. And it relates more to because so many of the websites that we deal with today have 2-factor authentication, or you have to use the Microsoft Authenticator app, is you can't get into those sites if the other person's phone's been turned off and maybe somebody else has the number now. And so I've gotten a lot of feedback about that, and I was a little surprised that was the thing that people focused on, but so many people have said, I never thought about that. And the other thing I would encourage is in your password list that you provide to whomever you're going to give it to in case something happens to you is, indicate on those sites that they're going to log into if there's 2-factor authentication or the Microsoft Authenticator app. And so that way they'll know where they need to go if they're trying to access, say, your SSA.gov website. That uses the Microsoft Authenticator app now. And so many sites like banking sites, certainly have 2-factor authentication now. So that was a good tip that was in that sheet I put together that people have really responded to.
And if you guys want to know any more information on that, his link is down below. You can go to his website. We're at the midpoint, so I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Our sponsor, you can click the link below. It is Chime. When you click the link below, you're going to get an additional $100. So make sure you click that. You'll read all the qualifications, all that kind of stuff, but it's very simple. It's the biggest known, and it's the best way to spend your money. So that's definitely good to use. Now we're at the middle waypoint, so there's going to be something really cool that we're doing today. The chat has been live. We have been pretty live in the chat. But now we are at the point where questions from the chat will be brought up here. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them. We're going to do something different today. Every single person that chats is going to get a reward. However, the best person, the best question is going to get a little bigger reward. So I'm not really going to mention what it is yet, but there is levels of rewards coming. And at the end, we'll kind of tell everybody what the rewards are. And trust me, it is awesome. Will is going to be spending a lot of money here because we got
unbeknownst to Will.
We got about almost $500 to each person that's going to be given away that Will's going to cover.
Well, it's a good thing Will's got a lot of money.
That's an unexpected budget item, isn't it, Will?
That's
Well,
right.
he asks me every episode, "Who is this coming out of your pocket?" So I just want to put it right up at the beginning. It's coming out of Will's pocket. So
I like how you did
nice
that, David.
Will.
I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have to split that down the middle, David.
Don't worry, I'll cover it.
Okay, that's even better.
So, but yeah, at the end, you guys will find out what the reward is, but it's going to be awesome. It's sweet. But like I said, the chat's already been going good, so we're going to just keep smoothing it along. But yes, everything that you could want and ask for is going to be in the links below. So definitely make sure you check those things out.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we want to welcome those questions and those comments. I want to encourage our viewers right now that there is no such thing as a dumb question. Last week we had a question, and I think I may have stuck my foot in my mouth because I said it was a dumb question. I don't know if I said dumb. Maybe I said silly. They were asking how babies became about. But anyway,
but
I think
I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah.
Because there is a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one unasked.
Ooh,
That's correct.
So, as long as you ask it, it's not a dumb question. But as long as you hold it in, that was a dumb question.
Mm-hmm. Well, usually, as you said, David, there's other people thinking the same thing but are afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of somebody being bold enough to say, I have this question and I'm not sure it's a good question.
Just
they
ask
go ahead and say it, and other people go, I'm glad somebody brought that up because I had the same question in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to be honest with you, we scan the questions. We don't just ask every question. So if it's a really bad question, we're not going to bring it live.
Yeah.
They'll see it in the, when people rewatch the videos, they'll see it, but it just won't be brought up live.
Mm-hmm. So money and marriage
go together like peas in a pod. And one thing I was
going to say peas and carrots.
One thing I want to bring to mention is I've been doing the financial coaching for a while, just like both of you guys have. I've had a lot of people come to me on how it saved their marriage. Now, money is the foundation, right? Money is like the root. Now, matter of fact, one wise person says the root of all evil is the love of money. Money itself is not evil, but it's the root of the love of the money is. But we need money to support ourselves, but we don't need money to live.
Right.
Now, in a marriage, one of the things that breaks most marriages up is money.
The love of money.
They either don't have it, they don't know how to budget, they don't know how to manage it, whatever, or they have too much or they hoard. But money seems to be the number one issue. What's that?
What'd you call me?
I called you a money hog.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you don't want to pay for small expenses. You want to put that off on me, no problem.
And that wasn't a very small expense.
It's only like under $500 per person.
Yeah, it's very generous.
So, but
David.
Money is the foundation of the marriage. So when the money goes right, the marriage goes smooth. You've all heard the phrase, what's mine is mine, what's hers is mine. Or I think it goes the other way around. But the thing is, we also know that, if the wife is happy, the whole house is happy. Now, they always focus on her because of her anger and her wrath. But it also gets said for the husband, too. If the husband ain't happy, the whole house ain't happy. If the husband or wife, either one of them, isn't happy, it is mayhem. Now, the wife might be instant, The husband will be devious and underhanded, and it'll come back to him. Either way, it's devastating. So when they get their finances fixed, they get their finances under control, they're allowed to do things. Money gives you permission to do things. It actually gives you freedom. So when you have things set up properly, you can actually do more. A lot of people love to go out and buy this and buy this and buy this. And then at the end of the year, it's like, well, what did I spend my money on? They were just freely doing whatever, and they don't even know anything. A lot of times when you buy something, shortly after you realize, well, I've beaten it, or this wasn't as good. A lot of people waste money on things they don't even like. But when you manage it and you do it properly, it gives you freedom to do things you actually want to do. I want to go on a cruise. Go ahead. You got the money.
Yeah. And David, I'm hearing this and it's loud and clear. It's ringing true. And it's the whole purpose of coaching coaching couples, marriages, is to get you guys meshing. Instead of doing this, we want you to be doing this. And that's why we start out with a vision. We start out with a vision. That's what we do in that first coaching session. And, it's like, I think we all do it a little differently. But if I'm coaching when I'm coaching a married couple, I do his vision and her vision and then their vision. And I do that all in the same session, depending on how it goes. Sometimes, like, I had one, and the wife was just like, she was dreaming, okay, and I wasn't about to stop that. So we broke it up into 3 sessions, and they were fine with it. Like, so it's like play it by ear. But we start out with a vision, and then we move from the vision into a monster goal, a year goal. Like, where do we see us at a year from now? And then, like, we create that. And so everything we're doing is flowing from the vision, which we've already got, and then onto that monster goal. And then each time we meet, it's the SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time sensitive. Like, those goals, they're not just wishes, they're goals with real, like, time sensitive, right? That's got to be done by this time. And those can be done weekly or monthly. So that's kind of like the flow and the outline of what it looks like to coach with me. And I know, David, you do a similar process, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Now, and I'll give you guys a little secret. Difference between a coach and a counselor. A counselor loves to get in the past, dig it up, very hurtful, very emotional. We love to look into the future, and as far as a coach, but I'll give you the secret, okay? The past, we don't want to dwell in it. The past is who we are. Remember it. That's our history. That's who we are. But we don't stay there. The future is our hope. That's our direction. That's where we're going. But we don't stay there either. We live in the present. We enjoy where we're at. And our focus is on the vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's critical to help the couple, like Will said, to have a vision and look, not just next month, but a year out and say, okay, here's where we want to be. How are we going to get there? Working with our coach. And what do we need to cover, and try to come up with a plan month by month of what you're going to address and, help them get there and then go on to the next year to maybe grow their savings more, because they'll have paid down a good bit of debt by then, save for retirement. So many people today are reaching retirement age and have next to nothing. I've had calls with people that are 60, 65 years old, and you ask them how much they've got saved for retirement, and it's nowhere near enough, for what it's going to take. And that's scary, because
it is.
When, Congress passes, laws that are detrimental to retirees and that kind of thing, then, they're just going to have cutbacks in benefits and things like that. And even, that's more unplanned for costs they're going to incur in the future. So, it's important to get them looking, in the future and planning for retirement early because of the the greatness of compounding of money on your investments and growing that wealth, getting the match at work, your 401k or Roth, account, because it's free money. And a lot of people don't take the time to do that, which is unfortunate.
One, the thing you have to remember,
it is unfortunate.
The thing you have to remember is if you trust in the government, you're never going to make it.
Correct.
Because
so
most
true.
people, by the time they retire, Social Security is going to be bankrupt.
Yeah.
So the thing is you never rely on the government. If you're sitting there waiting for, well, when's the next time the government's going to give me a check? You can't live off of the government. You just can't do it. That's why being with a coach, we're going to help you and we're going to push you to the next level where you're actually becoming a millionaire. You don't need their money.
Amen.
If you had $1 million in the bank and you never touch it, you live just off the principal. At 5%, which is a regular savings account, a high yield savings account, you make about 5%. That's $50,000. Can you live off of $50,000? Well, now you put into some investments. Last year we were making 26% interest. The president makes $100,000. Would you be able to make $260,000 a year? That's 26% of $1 million. And so the thing is, and that's just, we can get you that in about 5 to 10 years after you're debt free with the same Gonzale attitude.
Yeah,
that's right.
But you're going to get a lot more than that because you're still going to be investing until you retire.
Yes. It reminds me of
compounding.
We want to be on the winning side of the compound interest, not on the losing side. And I just met with a sister, an older sister in her 60s. And about midways in the conversation, she opened up to me about how much she had in her 401k. And she also said that she had a HELOC that she was currently paying on. So she has got the same amount in her 401k as I do. I'm 33 years old. My heart broke. And I said, what are you going to do when you retire? When are you planning to retire? And, she's just, I'll figure it out. I'll do something, right? It doesn't seem like there's much urgency there. So I think something that us coaches do and do well is go in with our flashlight and we're illuminating the hidden dark spots that the person that we're talking with is just not thinking about.
Well, I have a sad story. This gentleman's 74 years old. He had decent money. He's not filthy millionaire or nothing like that, but he had decent money. And he just now has to go back to work to support himself. 74 years old and he has to go back to work. This is why you need to get a hold of your finances and maximize it so that you are taken care of no matter how long. If you're living just off the interest, you'll live forever. As long as you live, you'll never touch your principal. If you have enough where you can live just off the interest.
Amen, David. And if that's not motivation enough, like thinking about yourself, realize that you're not just doing it for you. You're doing it for your loved ones. Like leave a legacy, a gift, a generous money gift for your children's children. Like do this for them.
But
but either way,
it won't only be a money gift. Because think of it this way. When you're going through it and you're doing it, I had one client that the single mother, was starting to do the program. Her child was actually pushing her. We can't spend that because we need to save it. We can't do that because she was actually giving up stuff that she wanted to do for her mother. So as you're doing things, you're going to attract other people to do it too. So yes, you're correct. You're building a legacy, but not just with your money. Because you're going to teach your kids and their kids, and they're going to be doing the same thing. And if you invest a simple $1,000 when you're born, like you invest for your child, never touch that money. Just $1,000. When they retire, they'll be a millionaire. Now that's just off of $1,000 with compound interest over several years. But if they put more money in, they'll be a multimillionaire. So the thing
Yeah.
is as long as you start doing the principle, it doesn't matter when you start. You'll be better off the sooner you start than the later you start. But it don't matter
That's
because
right.
it'll still start building something.
And
Hmm.
if you start late, you can allocate more of your salary, to your retirement accounts to try to make up time that you've lost. And hopefully you're picking good investments in your retirement accounts that will grow. Stock market, for example, is a great way to invest, especially when you're young. Pick good mutual funds and index funds and have some kind of mix of that. But
Hmm.
um,
But
you
yeah,
know,
just to be very clear on some of the people, because I know Don knows this. We don't invest in single stocks. We do
correct,
mutual funds divided in 4 categories, and we
right,
always
That's right.
go above the S&P 500. We don't even invest in the S&P 500. So when you're with one of us coaches, we'll get you out, but then we'll teach you how to invest, where you're
Mhm.
searching out for those higher investments, where you're in the 26% range like last year.
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
last year was one of the best years. So everybody that had, growth stock mutual funds, they did lights out, wonderful, living high on the hog right now. So, this is what we're talking about, guys, gals. We want you to be living, taken care of. We don't want it to lead to pride, but we want it to lead to a
right.
lasting legacy for your children's children. Yeah.
Yeah, we had extra motivation because of our special needs twins, in more years or 25 more years. But it's one of those things where it was a committed action on our part to sock away more money, especially as my income went up in my real estate career. I started maxing out my 401k, and the company had a wonderful match. So that really enabled me to retire last year from the real estate industry with the health issues I had. And then
Just curious, what do they match?
my company, most companies are doing anywhere from 1% to 4%. My son works for the University of Kentucky, and they do like $3 for every dollar you put in. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
And my company, when I did the calculation, it was like 17% of whatever I paid in was matched, which is phenomenal. I mean, I had
Wow.
not seen it that high. And of course, the market cooperated, and we've had a bull market for so many years that, again, the growth in that really gave us a cushion for when, I had to start taking Social Security, and my wife retired a couple of years before I did. So, it really pays, to put that money away. And when you get to be older, in your 60s, you're feeling a whole lot better about, quitting work at some point in time, either because you want to or because you have to for health reasons.
Hmm.
And that kind of thing. So yeah, can't encourage investing in retirement accounts enough.
Well, the
Yeah.
funny thing is the one that you said that when he puts $1, they give him three. I need to go with that company because that's like a 300% match. I was like, I need that.
Wow. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
I can
it's pretty
retire in a
incredible.
There's
year.
got to be a limit. There's
Work
got to
for
be a limit to that, though. There's got to be a cap.
I would do half my salary
yeah,
and be able to get 3 times my salary added to. Oh, man, I'll be able to retire
Yeah,
in a year.
right. Yeah, exactly. You'd be able to retire.
Okay,
yeah, you
so
have limits on how much you put in, but yeah, it's it's a wonderful program.
So we
Mhm.
at this point we like to make 3 announcements. We like to do 2 frees and 1 paid. And so first of all, we have an absolute CRM community. No, I'm sorry, absolute coaches community. It's for all the coaches. I don't care what type of coach you are. It's for all of you. It'll have events to motivate you. It has a lot of blueprints, a lot of different things. You get a lot of free stuff as you're encouraged, as you do more things, the more you do to better yourself, the more you get rewarded. How
Mhm.
much good is it for somebody to reward you for doing good? Come join the community, find out what's going good with the coaches, and watch you excel as well. And so, matter of fact, we promote from within. We're about ready to get a new admin because
We
at
are.
50 members, we're going to get a new admin. So come
Mhm.
in, get active, and you might be the next admin. So make sure you come aboard because that's going to be awesome. Now, the link is below, so make sure you join the community. You're going to love it. There's a lot of coaches that's going to encourage you, help you out, and it's free. Don't worry about the cost. Come on in.
Yeah,
Second of
a lot
all,
of great things in the community. I joined last month, so
you know,
I encourage people to do that.
now,
Thank you,
second
Doc.
thing is we're going to talk about the absolute CRM, which is exploding right now. Okay, there is some huge things going on. The absolute CRM is a program. It's an all-in-one system. Now we have it designed for coaches. It's made by coaches for coaches. So it's going to excel you. It's going to do your email drip campaigns. It's going to handle all your contacts. It's going to do all your social media. Set everything on auto set, everything automated, where once you set it up, you don't have to do anything. And right now, we have a really good promotion going on. We have the Independence Freedom. The code is Freedom 2025, and this works until the end of tomorrow. Tomorrow's 4th of July, so it works till the end
Pressure
of 4th of
is
July.
on.
And this will give you $200 off. So you don't want to miss this. This is for the professional or higher. It'll give you $200 off. You want to join that because this special is phenomenal. After tomorrow, that special is going away. Make sure you join. And right now, they have the AI promotion, which will give you the AI free for 30 days. Now, you have to activate it. And whenever you start it, you get 30 days. However, it ends September 1st. So if you do it just 15 days before, you're not getting 30 days, you're only getting 15 days of the promotion. So make sure you do it at least 30 days before September 1st. I've already got it going. I'm doing a lot of things with the promotion. I know several people have already started the promotion because it's phenomenal. AI to do everything for you. It's great. Matter of fact, Will does it, and he loves them creating the websites. So that's phenomenal. Now, the special, I told everybody there was going to be something special going for all the people that make comments. Anybody that made a comment in the chat was going to get one reward. And then the best commenter, the best question was going to get even better. Now, we didn't have a single question in the chat. We had a lot of comments, but no questions. And we only had one person in the chat. So the one person is going to get a reward. And because we're doing everything with the CRM, they're actually getting a credit in the CRM. So
Nice.
they're going to get a $50 credit into the CRM to help them out even more. They already have the CRM, so they're just going to get a little extra inside of it. It's really cool.
Really cool.
Congratulations.
Now, the third thing that we like to do is we like to do another free item. Now, we have a huge event that we're getting ready to do, and this is we have a free thing that's going on to help with the event. When you give ideas for the event that's going to happen at the end of the year, after Christmas, before New Year's, there's going to be a huge event, and we're looking for ideas. And as you give us ideas, we give you free stuff. If we use your idea, you get a lot of stuff. If you're the best, you get even more stuff. So we're giving prizes up to $1,000. So just make sure if you're helping out for the event, you're going to be getting taken care of. So please help out. And that's as far as what we have for the announcements. We do thank each and every person for coming. Don, his link is in the description below. William, do you have any final comments?
Absolutely, David. Thank you so much, Dawn, for coming on, talking about money and marriage. It was a pleasure having you. Look forward to having you back on sometime next year.
Sounds great. I enjoyed you inviting me, David and Will, and look forward to interacting with you going forward in the community.
Absolutely.
So we thank you, Don, for coming. We thank you, each person, for being here. We had 7 in the room today. And we had one person that was doing a lot of commenting. Some of them I brought in. And so we do have to give props up to Mary Bibb. She was the one that was doing a lot of chatting, which she's just about ready to get a reward inside the community for one of the blueprint things. She's about to get a reward, so it's really awesome. And she got a reward tonight, so she's just maxing out all these rewards that she can get. again, we love giving stuff away. The more you come
Yeah.
to these podcasts, the more you're going to get. The more you comment, the more you do in the community, the more you're going to get. We love giving things. We
Mm,
want to encourage you to be successful. So come on board.
that's right.
Thank you, and we'll
That's
see
right.
you next
Sounds
time,
great. Thanks,
next
guys.
week. Thank you.